Hi, welcome to this podcast where we will explore and examine various thought-provoking books to identify their content's deep meaning and purposes, transferring them into practical applications for everyday living. We will identify their primary attributes, relevance, and application in our lives. Welcome. So this month's book is entitled Supernatural: How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is a neuroscientist. And this is the book. Let me just show you how comprehensive it is. It actually took me more than a month to read. This is why I'm here in August and not July. So anyway, this book explores how common people can achieve extraordinary feats through the power of the mind and the heart coherence. In the book, there's so much here about the heart because the heart is the seat of all will and intention. So during our time together, I'm going to focus on 5 key components. This book is so comprehensive, I could never really share its entirety with you in 28 minutes. So I'm going to give you a quick review of the most pertinent components. We'll look at the blessing centers. He talks about these 8 blessing centers. We're going to look at heart coherence because everything begins in your heart. We're going to look at the pineal gland in your brain because it's where healing begins. And we're going to look at some exercises he discusses that you can employ in your life to bring health and wholeness to your physical body. And it all begins with your thinking. So he starts the book with this concept, understanding the present moment. He says that you need to keep your thinking in the present moment. He calls it the eternal now. It's basically essential for unlocking supernatural experiences, transcending conditional beliefs. He talks about the functioning of the brain. The brain connects thoughts to actions, forming patterns based on experiences that influence your future behaviors and emotions. It's all linked. So part of this whole concept of keeping things in the present, he talks about how past traumas, things that happened to you 5 years, 10 years, 40 years ago, impact you physically, because every time you relive the past, every time you think about negative occurrences, your body doesn't know that happened 10 years ago. Your body is working based on your emotions. So every time that you think about your past and reiterate the past, focus on the past, you're putting your body back into that trauma situation, whether it was a car accident or whatever it was. Your body doesn't know the difference between external environment and internal environment. That's why he says, keep everything in the present. Keep focused on the present and on the future. So the next part he talks about is creating routines and predictability. He says daily habits from repetitive thoughts, this is all about thinking, and emotions limit personal transformation and can lead to future mirroring of the past. So basically the concept here is every time you think about the past, every time you're focused on the past, and you're not thinking about the present, you're actually recreating the past. The very thing you don't want to happen, the very thing you dislike. So he says, keep your mind on the present and on the future, and don't focus on the past. And I think now they're noticing with psychotherapy that really having people talk about their past is not bringing healing. It's not. What you need to focus on is what's happening today and what you need to do in the future. And the interesting thing is that every time you think about your past, every time you recreate the past emotionally, that's if you get your emotions involved. Remember, your thinking creates your feelings, which creates your emotions. You actually create a blueprint of the past in your body. So you never allow your body to heal from the past. Every time you recreate the past and you get your emotions involved, you're actually recreating the past. So he says, nope, get beyond the past and be in the present. He talks a lot about the thought-emotion cycle. Familiar feelings can trap individuals by driving repetitive thoughts, reinforcing these brain pathways that limit new experiences. This is what I'm discussing. Every time you keep thinking the same thought, you think, well, why? It's healthy to be thinking about your past. No, it's not. It's not. He talks about the thinking, feeling loop. He discusses a protein marker that strengthens the immune system. Listen to what this is, because everything's connected to your physical body. It's called the hormone IgA. It is an incredible, powerful chemical, one of the primary proteins responsible for healthy immune function, and and in the internal defense system. It's constantly fighting a barrage of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other organisms that invade your body. When it's activated, it's the primary defense system in the human body. When stress levels and therefore levels of stress hormones go up, your cortisol goes up. So every time you put yourself in your past, you're emotionally engaged, your cortisol levels go up, your IgA hormone goes down. You're actually making yourself sick. You're making yourself sick. This lowers your level of IgA, therefore compromising and down-regulating the immune system expression of the gene that makes protein. His research shows by attaining states of elevated emotion through meditation, he's going to talk about meditation, positive, elevated emotions like gratefulness, joy, love, compassion, that your body begins to believe that it's in a new environment. Remember, your body doesn't know the difference between the actual event and what your emotions are telling it. So when you have these positive emotions of love, compassion, joy, your body thinks it's safe. It's not in a fight or flight, and it begins healing itself. So basically what you're doing is you're signaling new genes and change in your gene expression. So that's a key component of the book. Another key component is the power of mental rehearsal. Mental rehearsal through visualization can reshape your brain wiring and bodily responses without physical practice. And the book is full of research. And one of the research studies I want to share is called the piano study. So basically they were looking at neuroimages of people's brains, and they had the control group think about playing the piano. Just think about it. They didn't touch a piano. They didn't even move their hands. They just thought about playing the piano, and they could see brain changes in their brain. Then the other control group, they said to them, think about playing the piano, but this time be emotionally involved, like just be joyful, just really be emotional about it. They had even greater brain changes. They never touched a piano. So it shows you how impactful your brain is to your thoughts. And actually that leads to the next concept, which is changing genetic expression. Every time you have a thought that turns into a feeling, that turns into an emotion, you're changing your gene expression. It's called epigenetics. Show that emotional and environmental signals can influence gene expression, promoting health shifting through emotional states. Every time you have a thought that turns into a feeling, that becomes an emotion, you're changing your gene expression. This is where the healing comes. Think of emotions, he says, as a chemical residue from past experiences of chemical feedback. So every time you have an emotion, maybe about a car crash you had 30 years ago, you're actually creating a chemical feedback. He says these chemical signals make your body feel exactly the way you were just thinking. For example, if you have a fearful thought, you start to feel fear. The moment you feel fear, that emotion influences you to think more fearful thoughts, and those thoughts trigger release of even more chemicals in the brain and body that make you continue to feel more fear. Think of emotions as energy in motion. It's just so true. Think about when you're around people that are fearful, you become fearful. This is how it works. Your emotions we're very subjective to our own thinking, other people's thinking. We know that through the science of epigenetics, that it's not the gene that creates the disease, but the environment that programs our genes to create disease. So basically, you can be predisposed to, let's say, some sickness, but you don't necessarily have to have it. You can program your body to actually fight the disease. Remember, he says, emotions are chemical feedback. Every time you get an emotional reaction to something, it's a chemical feedback, the end product of experiences we have in the external environment. The gene itself doesn't physically change. The expression of the gene changes. And that expression is what matters, because most of what affects our health and lives are genes being expressed, okay? So the next thing he discusses is energy distribution. So he talks a lot about electromagnetic energy, and that everyone has it, and it surrounds you. It surrounds you. And basically, you know that when you meet somebody that's very negative, you kind of feel it. They don't even have to say anything. You feel it. There is this electromagnetic field that we create around our body. It's either positive or negative. It's just the truth. And he says that when you're thinking about your past and focusing on the past, you're actually shrinking this electromagnetic energy. You're shrinking it. He said, but when you're thinking like positive thoughts, he used the words elevated thoughts of joy, love, compassion, you're actually widening it. It's widening it. And actually, the reality is people can feel it. They can feel whether you're positive or negative. They can feel it. He says, focusing attention externally fragments your energy, okay? This is what he says here about this part. When you place your attention, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. This is a key concept. Don't place your energy on your past. As a consequence, you are siphoning it. Since experiences enriches the brain and creates an emotion that signals the body, when you continuously create an inward experience of those elevated emotions, you're actually changing the chemicals in your body. Remember, emotions actually create these neurons to wire and fire together, that you're actually changing your body chemistry. He talks a little bit about living in survival mode, and basically that chronic stress can wire the body to negative emotions, fostering addiction to these states and hindering growth. So what he really says, which I thought was so true, that when you have negative thinking, okay, whether it's bitterness, unforgiveness, whether it's selfishness, whether it's resentment, you actually, when you start that thinking pattern, you become addicted to those. You become addicted to those. I know people that are addicted to negative thinking. That's just how they're wired, but they've created that wiring. Remember, neurons that wire together, fire together. They've created that pattern of thinking. So one of the solutions he gives for overcoming these negative thinking is meditation. He uses meditation as a tool for change. Meditation, he says, helps break emotional and physical attachments, opening possibilities beyond known realities. As we practice maintaining these elevated emotions and changing our energy, we're expanding it, not siphoning it small. He says that you'll make new healthy proteins, that IgA, that strengthen your internal defense system. We're going to be looking at the body systems and how your thinking impacts each one of those organs. This means you might not need a pharmacy to heal you. Think about this. This is so true. I've heard so many different doctors say this. You don't need a pharmacy to heal you. You have the power within you to upregulate genes to make that IgA. Remember we talked about how IgA, how powerful it is. His research showed that sometimes by simply listening to what you have to do, moving into an elevated state of joy, love, inspiration, gratitude, how long? For 5 to 10 minutes a day can produce significant epigenetic changes. Think about that in your health and your body. The book is full of testimonials, people that have gone to his conferences, and through this breathing technique, through this meditation technique, through the blessing of the different centers, which we're going to talk about next, have actually healed themselves of autoimmune disease, MS, all kinds of diseases, and you can see it. You can see it, that your thinking impacts your organs, impacts your immune system, and the immune system is that's like the fighting battle part of your body. Your thinking impacts it, because every time you get stressed, you increase your cortisol, you decrease your IgA, which is the fighting battle cells of your body. So let's look at the blessing centers. Now this is where it gets a little bit heavy because there's 8 of them, but we're going to review quickly, mostly focus on 7. So basically, he talks about blessing your energy centers, okay? And what they are is the different parts, different organs, main organs in your body, situated throughout your body. And every time you do a breathing technique that he discusses and describes, you're causing the cerebral fluid in your body, which goes from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, to flow into these organs. And every time he talks about blessing each organ, you're bringing the cerebral fluid to those organs, which is bringing life and health to your organs. So he says the cerebral fluid acts as an electric wiring. It takes 12 hours for this fluid to go through your body. It goes through your body basically twice a day, flushing your body. Think about it. If you're thinking about positive things, if you're thinking about, like the word he uses, elevated concepts, you're flushing your body with healthy cerebral fluid to each one of these centers. So let's go over the centers quickly. The first one is it's located in your sexual organs. It governs reproduction and procreation. And so when that's balanced, listen to what happens. You have improved reproductive health and sense of groundness. So one of the protocols is to bless these centers. The second center, located below the navel, governs the ovaries, the uterus, is pancreas, lower back. It's associated with consumption, digestion, elimination, and breaking down of food. It also relates to social networks, relationships, and support systems. Yeah, if you're struggling in one of these areas, this is where you need to be blessing that center. When it's balanced, it leads to better digestion, stable blood sugar levels, and a sense of safety. And this is what happened with so many people in his conferences. They were able to change this part of their organs in their body. The third center is the pit of the gut, governs your stomach, small intestines, spleen, liver, gallbladder, adrenaline glands, and kidneys. It's also associated with willpower, self-importance, control, drive, aggression, and dominance. This center is also related to the fight or flight. So he says that when you're in chronic stress, you're basically operating out of those three lower systems. And when you are, you're taxing them. You're making them weak. And this is what happens with chronic stress. And when you do that consistently, it will lead to disease. Chronic stress will lead to disease. He says if that center is balanced, you'll lead to improved digestion. How many people are struggling with digestive problems? Better stress management, a sense of personal power, and self-esteem. Key pieces here. The fourth center, which is another key organ, space behind the breastplate, governs the heart, lungs, thymus gland. It's associated with emotions such as love, caring, gratitude, selflessness. This center is where our divinity originates. It's considered the seat of the soul. Balancing it can lead to improved immune function, emotional stability, a sense of wholeness and satisfaction. This is why we're going to talk a lot about heart coherence. And what happens in your heart will impact your body. What happens if you're holding on to unforgiveness, if you're holding on to bitterness, if you're grudging, if you're angry, you will destroy your body. It will destroy you. I mean, this is a science. This is not science fiction. The fifth energy center is the throat, governs the thyroid, the parathyroid, salivary glands associated with expressing love, speaking the truth. It's now what happens here in this part of your body, these hormones are associated with the thyroid hormones T3 and T4, and they govern body's metabolism and circulating calcium levels. So another key component of your body. If this is balanced, it can lead to better communication, self-expression, and a sense of personal empowerment. And then the sixth energy center is the space between the throat and the back of the head, which governs the pineal gland. That's a key component to health. You're going to learn about that, which is associated with higher dimensions and shifting perception. It also allows us to see beyond the physical realm and experience reality in a non-linear way. When this is balanced, it leads to improved cardiac rhythms, heightened awareness, and clear perception of reality. Don't you want to have a clear mind? You will have it when your pineal gland is working and operating at an optimal level. And then the sixth energy center is the pituitary gland. It governs harmony. It's the center of other brain organs and other glands. It's actually associated with high levels of consciousness and divinity. And then the eighth energy center, basically, he says it's above your head, and it's associated with flow of creativity, energy beyond the physical. So let's look at heart coherence, because once again, everything begins in the heart. And this is why he has an entire section on it. Heart coherence refers to the state where the heart, mind, and emotions are in energetic alignment and cooperation. This state is achieved when the heart rhythms patterns become more ordered and coherent. So basically, when your heart is working in the right way, and I'm not talking beating, I'm talking intention, I'm talking what are you placing in your heart? It actually gives you a good heart. He calls it variability. He said the heart center governs the heart, lungs, thymus gland, which is the body's immune gland known as the fountain of youth. This is why, I think the research is showing now that people who have a broken heart actually can get sick. People who have a broken heart can actually get sick and they can die because it is the fountain of youth, this immune gland. The hormones associated with this center include growth hormone, oxytocin, as well as a cascade. Listen to how many. 1,400 different chemicals that stimulate the immune system via the thymus gland responsible for growth, repair, and regeneration of the body. This is why when you get, if you've had a stressful situation, you get sick. This is why. So depression, anxiety, discouragement can actually make you sick. Behind the breastbone sits a small gland called the thymus, which has an innate connection to the heart center. As one of the main organs of the immune system, the thymus serves as a vital role in the promotion of T cells. Those are your health cells, which defend the body from pathogens such as bacteria and viruses. Basically, different chemicals are released by different feelings. Your feelings can create health challenges when you are feeling hurt, angry, stress, jealousy, rage, competition, or frustration. You signal from the heart to the brain becomes incoherent. That's why he talks about heart coherent. That triggers approximately 1,000, 2,000 chemicals equal to your feelings. This chemical dump, listen to what happens, lasts approximately 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So for 90 seconds to 2 minutes, you're having all of these negative feelings going through your body, which causes your state to become incoherent, making you vulnerable to stress. So that's what happens. But when we experience positive emotions such as love, gratitude, and compassion, our heart rhythms become more coherent. And he actually cites a study here, which is so powerful, that when people are sitting together in a room and they're all on the same page and they're all working together, their hearts beat simultaneously the same. You can actually influence other people. You can actually influence other people by your heart coherence. And so there's a lot of information there about heart coherence and how powerful it is to have those elevated positive emotions. So now let's look at the pineal gland. It's often referred to the third eye. Is a small gland located, like we said, at the back. And when activated, the pineal gland allows you to have a full sensory experience. The pineal gland is sensitive to all electromagnetic frequencies. Remember what I told you, it secretes hormones like serotonin and melatonin, which are responsible for regulating cardiac rhythms and making you feel awake during the day and sleepy at night. So let's look at the scientific benefits of melatonin. I think people don't realize how important the pineal gland is, and that when you're sleeping, you're actually facilitating these chemicals. Scientific facts about melatonin: stops excess secretion of cortisol in response to stress. See how it helps you? Improves carbohydrate metabolism, lowers triglyceride levels, inhibits the hardening of the arteries, heightens the immune system, decreases the development of certain tumors, increases lifespan rates of laboratory rats, activates neuroprotection role in the brain, increases your REM sleep, which is dream sleep, stimulates free radical scavenging, which is anti-aging oxidants, and promotes DNA and replication. So the gland is associated with higher dimensions and shifting perception. So basically what he says, that when you have your pineal gland, remember you're blessing all the different seven senses, that you'll actually have a heightened understanding of what's happening in you and in the world. It actually gives you this, you have a more conscious of both your inner and outer worlds. So let's look at some of the strategies he tells you to take, to employ, to help you. One of them is visualization. And so we know a lot about visualization, but basically you do that to activate your pineal gland. And when you do, you start creating vivid imagery of what you want to do. Remember, we're focusing on the present and in the future. And here he talks about mind movies. And when you're focusing on your future, you do have like visualization. You see your future before you. And one of the things that I haven't done mind movies, but I have visualized my future. And what happens is, when your future starts coming together and you see pieces, you know, oh wow, I had envisioned this happening. And that's happening because you're using your pineal gland. So basically what he says here is that you have to have a positive, clear intention, and that happens in your heart. Clear intentions plus elevated emotions equal new energy. Emotions are energy. The more you keep your future alive by visualization with your intention, your attention, energy, and love, the more it starts to unfold as a new reality, because you're remembering your future just as you remembered your past. You're keeping yourself present about what's happening today and on your future. This protocol of visualization helps you perceive reality based on pattern recognition, links between the neural networks in our brains, so you start seeing patterns in your life. You start seeing these patterns. Another protocol, walking meditations. This is something I've done where you place your energy. He says where you place your attention is where you place your energy. I've done walking meditations, and it was during walking meditations that I actually saw things that would be happening in the future. He talked about heart-centering emotions. Practicing combining positive thought and feeling and emotion will change your energy. And one of the things he talks about is reconditioning your body and your mind by using affirmations. And so he gives you a list of affirmations, and I wrote them down, and I'm employing them myself. So basically, you say these out loud. They're listed in the book. For example, my body is healing every day. My words are law. I feel loved deeply. Wealth flows to me. All my needs are always met. My body becomes younger every day. The divine appears to me in my life. And it goes on to list all of these others affirmations. So it's so important. Remember, what you're thinking impacts your feeling, which impacts your emotions, which impact your organs and your biological state. So really be careful about your thinking. And by putting and employing these thought patterns, you can change your thinking, you can change your feelings, you can change your emotions, which are your energy centers. So you're going to keep that energy center, that electromagnetic field around you, positive. And then people will see that. People want to be around positive people. They don't want to be around people that are negative all the time. You don't want to siphon it. You don't want to shrink it. Some of the other affirmations he said that you can say every day you're saying these out loud. My immune system gets stronger each day. I lead with courage in my life. I am an unlimited genius. I am always aware of the power within me and all around me. I believe in myself. I embrace the unknown. So now let's summarize when it comes to thinking. And I found this in another book, but I thought I'd add it here. He talks about, Joe Dispenza talks about taking every thought captive. And he says, so when you have a thought, this is what I want you to ask yourself. Number one, when you have a thought, is this true? Number two, how does it make you feel? Number three, if I act on this thought, how does it make me act? How would I feel if I didn't have this thought? What's the opposite? Take the thought and turn it into a positive. That's a good one. And then meditate on the positive. Meditate on the positive. So that was a lot of information. So basically, you can overcome familiar thoughts and emotions and break free from the past, cultivating energies for a new destiny, which promotes life and health transformation. I hope that was a clear, concise overview, but it all begins with your thinking, which leads to your feelings, which leads to your emotions, which impact your physical body. And so it's so important to have those elevated emotions and really to look at your heart and say, well, what are my intentions? Are they good? If they're good, they're going to lead to a better future. If they're good, they're going to lead that you're present in the moment and you're not focused on the past, because if you continue to focus on the past, that's really the crux of the book, you will get yourself sick and you will never heal. You'll never heal. Thank you so much for joining me. I know that was a lot of information. I highly recommend the book. It will take you quite a while to get through it all, but it's full of graphs and stats and testimonials. Hope to see you back next month. Have a great month. Bye.